I I just gotta turn this off. Um, so uh, I was like, I kind of overdid it the other day. Like Sunday I was watching a football game. I was leaning back in the recliner, and my head was completely supported. And I was watching the game on a TV that was, I don't know, like 20 feet away. It didn't hurt. I felt comfortable. So I watched the game, and it was whatever. Um, I'm not a fan of either team, so I was just like enjoying it. And um, and then I realized I was like, man, I'm tired. Like it felt like I've been walking like far, and I was like, my neck was tired. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like what always happens with me when I look at a screen. Like my neck is tired, and I don't know why. But and then one day I went for a walk, and I found a deer with a broken ankle. So I was out there trying to call like wildlife service to come help. And so that was the whole thing. And I was just so exhausted I could not hold my head up at all. And then I rested all yesterday, and even today I'm still recovering. I'm like my muscles are just so weak, and I think what's happening is like the muscles, like what happens with my ligaments in my neck is that like when I'm leaning forward to like do whatever, get dressed or do the dishes or use a computer if I'm leaning forward a little bit or reading a book or whatever my head's like, wherever those muscles are being used, they're not fully carrying the load because they're so tired. And then the other pieces of tissue in there that are holding things together are the connective tissue. So normally they would just kind of keep things in a general configuration, but the muscles are holding the weight. When the muscle stops holding the weight, I'm still holding my head in that position, but some of that weight's going to be transferred to the ligaments. And then you get the ligament damage. So like I have Lyme and Bartonella, but I don't have like my knees work, my hips work, my ankles work, right? My elbows work. So I might have had weaker but they are weaker. Like my knees, I've had to do physical therapy. My hips, my ankles, I do physical therapy. My wrists, I do physical therapy. My left shoulder's frozen. Like my chest, I exercise like chest exercise. I think my connective tissue is weaker over throughout my whole body, but I think what caused the extra damage in my neck was, if I'm my neck was tired when I was sitting at a computer, and then the weight gets transferred to the ligaments, and then the ligaments degrade over time and fall apart. And I think they do that for everyone. But although perhaps if you don't have weaker connective tissue, it's not as severe. But even healthy people who work on a computer like I did, they lose cervical curve. They have issues with internal jugular vein compression. They have issues with posture and headaches and all this stuff. And I think that's what happens is those ligaments get stretched and damaged. Um, and part of the reason why I think the muscles get so tired is for some reason when I look at a screen, um, like I can hold the back of my cell phone up. I can turn the phone around and look at the back of the cell phone, right? Hold it up to my face, look at it. And it's nothing. I don't feel anything. And then I turn around, look at the screen for like whatever. I'll watch a video for like 30 seconds. Then I'll turn it around again. And I can feel the muscles in my neck loosening up. And I never consciously made an effort to tighten them. And I felt like I was relaxed. But it's just like the muscle on either side of muscles in and around my spine, like C1, C2, were tightened up. And I think that happens when people look at screens. At least some people. Have confirmed that other people have had the same issue on like people with instability. On the PICL group have had the same issue. and I expect everyone is affected like that for some reason. I don't know if it's the flickering of the screen, the refresh rate, the light, the backlit screen, because it doesn't happen if I look at a computer screen where it's not backlit, like e-paper, e-ink. It doesn't happen. So I can look at an e-ink display and it's like reading a newspaper. There's nothing. If I read a book, it's nothing. I don't read a lot because I have to like hold a book up and like my neck does have some issues. And you do use your neck some when you read up close, just period. But like I can hold up a book and then hold up a phone and I still have the same problem. Like my neck's so much tighter with a phone reading versus a book reading. So what I'm saying is that I don't know why it happened, but I just know that it happens. I think that if you have any kind of neck issues like instability, like you have to not look at a screen because like I, I can't get up to make food now because my neck is so tired I can't balance my head, and if I force it, then I'm damaging my ligaments, and then and I think that's what happened when I first started having issues is that I overdid it with the neck muscles and the ligaments. I caused a decent amount of damage, and I kept using screens, and I kept going and doing normal stuff like I kept using screens which would exhaust the muscles, and then I would do the normal thing like use like drive a car and do the dishes and stuff, and then I would hurt my neck doing that stuff because I couldn't hold my head up. Whereas if I had just stopped using screens, I would have been way better off. I probably would have never been bedbound. And I was bedbound for 8 months, but still mostly bound in a reclined chair or bed now, probably 8 hours a day. And I'm only up for 12 hours a day. And I can't do much. So maybe like 11 hours a day. Yeah, I'd say 11 hours. I'm sorry, 9 hours a day. So I have 3 hours in between those rest, where I can get up for a few minutes at a time here and there and do stuff. Go to take a shower, go then rest, and then, you know. So I can't. I'm still mostly. I can't do much. I have to rest a lot. So yeah. So I think if and then also becoming bedbound, I got severely atrophied, so my neck's even weaker. So if I look at a screen now, it uses all of my strength in my neck because it's clenching the whole time, and those muscles are already super weak because they're atrophied. And then I try and get up and do something. I'm like, oh, I can't hold my head up because those muscles. Like I could go for a walk for half an hour, and I could use a cell phone for 5 minutes, and it puts the same amount of strain on my neck. So it's like that's how much strain. Like, because when you're walking, you're mostly balancing your head, so you're not constantly clenching those muscles. But when I use a screen, they're constantly clenched, so it uses them up a lot faster. And try as I might, like it's really hard. It might be something I could like train myself out of, but it's like I try and like purposefully relax those muscles. But the moment I stop consciously thinking about it and go back to like looking at what I'm looking at, they tighten up again. So maybe I could train myself out of that eventually. Um, I mean, it kind of feels like I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I just want to say that's what's going on because I see a lot of people with craniocervical instability, and they're on Facebook all the time. They're on computers all the time. They're like, oh, I have all these problems, and the problems like just keep going away. My neck is just won't get any stronger, and it's like I think may try not using the screen because when I don't use the screen for long periods of time, I feel great. Like I can get up and walk around, and I can walk thousands of more steps, and do more chores, and the thing is about that too is you want to use your neck not in a static clenching position. You want to use your neck when you're moving. So, like, if I'm exercising and walking and doing chores and moving around, like, I'm getting strong in a range of motion. Whereas, like, if I had my arm here and I just, like, held a weight out and just held it there, and then I go to the doctor and say, Doctor, my elbow hurts. Why does my elbow hurt? And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm just sitting here holding my arm like this all the time and clenching the muscles. They'd say, don't do that. The body's not meant to do that all day. You can't do that for a long period of time. Like static flexion of muscle is not like contractions of muscle. It's not good for your joints. Like you can do it for exercise for short periods, right? Like if I sit here and like resist and like push on my head and I count to 10 and then I stop, right? That's okay, but you don't want to be doing that for like 15 minutes. Um, because it's not how joints are meant to like they get inflamed. Um, like if you look at tendonitis, like maintaining a static position, if you Google it, like you can cause tendonitis. Um, and then if you maintain tendonitis for a certain amount of time, then you get tendinosis, which means the tissue has gone from being inflamed to now the connective tissue is just breaking down and falling apart. That's why it hurts more to just stand still versus walking. So, like if you walk for half an hour versus stand completely still for half an hour, you're going to have more aches and pains. When you're standing still, you're going to have pain in your feet, pain in your back, because your back's having to maintain this rigid position. Because it's not statically holding a position. It's not. It's harder to do for your body. It's harder on your body. Um, so, um, yeah. Now, obviously, there's exceptions. Like if you're moving at a very intense rate or lifting very heavy weights, you could quickly overdo it on dynamic movements compared to like you know just holding like a light weight. If something's really heavy, you could hurt yourself real quick. But yeah, it's just generally so. So I just want people to know. I think this is something I never hear anyone ever talk about. Um, but this is why I think a lot of people have craniocervical instability. Perhaps they've had previous injuries that contribute to it, or Lyme and Bartonella. But I think if you're like reading books all the time, or looking at not reading books, if you're looking at a computer all the time, or looking at a cell phone all the time, then your neck muscles are flexing way more than they would, and then they get really tired. And then now the weight of your head is being partially supported by the ligaments, and then they become inflamed, and then they fall apart, and then your neck curve falls apart, and then you have instability, and your life is worse than death. So I think that's what happens. I think that's what's causing it. So, anywho, yeah, hope you're all having a good day.